Elizabeth rushed into the coffee shop, her phone glued to her ear as usual. She was in her early 30s. And ever since her younger cousin had gotten married, her parents had been relentless. "Mom, I told you I don't have time for dating right now. I'm busy running a school, remember? No, I'm not avoiding it. Yes, I'm sure I'll find someone eventually. Look, I've got to go. I'm at the coffee shop." Luke, the barista, stood behind the counter, stifling a smile. He had been hearing the same conversation almost every morning for months. He handed her the usual, a large cappuccino with an extra shot of espresso. "Let me guess," Luke said, raising an eyebrow. "Your parents?" Elizabeth sighed dramatically as she stuffed her phone into her bag. "You have no idea. They won't let it go. It's like being single is a crime or something. They think if I'm not married by now, I'll be alone forever." Luke chuckled, leaning against the counter. "I've been hearing that for a while now. Sounds like they're really on your case." "You're telling me," she said, rolling her eyes. "They just don't get that running a..." Nursery school doesn't leave much room for dating. A mischievous grin spread across Luke's face. "You know, you could always tell them you're dating someone." Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. "And where exactly am I supposed to find this magical boyfriend?" Luke shrugged nonchalantly. "What if I told you that you already have one?" Elizabeth stared at him, confused. "What are you talking about?" He grinned. "Me. Tell them you're dating me. I mean, you're here every day. I practically know your whole life story from your phone calls. I could totally play the part." Elizabeth blinked. "Wait, are you serious?" "Sure," Luke said with a casual shrug. "Why not? It'll get your parents off your back, and I wouldn't mind helping you out." Elizabeth considered it for a moment. The idea was crazy, but Luke seemed easygoing enough to pull it off. Plus, it wasn't like she had any other options. "You know what? Fine, let's do it." For weeks, Elizabeth and Luke maintained the charade. She'd casually mention Luke whenever her parents called, and her mom's relief was palpable through the phone. "You're really dating a barista?" her mother asked during one conversation. "Not exactly what I imagined, but if he makes you happy..." "Oh, he does, Mom," Elizabeth said, glancing at Luke behind the counter, who gave her an exaggerated thumbs up. She stifled a laugh. "He's wonderful." Things were going smoothly until one fateful evening when her mother called with news that nearly made her drop her phone. "Your father and I are coming to visit this weekend. We'd love to meet Luke." "How exciting!" Elizabeth's stomach dropped. She looked at Luke wide-eyed. "We have a problem," she said after hanging up. "What's up?" Luke asked, wiping down the counter. "My parents are coming to visit. They want to meet you." Luke paused for a moment before smirking. "Guess we're going to have to take this act to the next level." The day her parents arrived, Elizabeth was a bundle of nerves. Luke, on the other hand, was calm and composed, greeting her parents with a warm smile. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter, it's so nice to finally meet you," Luke said, shaking hands with Elizabeth's father while her mother beamed. Her parents seemed charmed by him right away. He played his role perfectly, asking them about their journey, cracking jokes that made them laugh, and holding Elizabeth's hand casually as if they had been doing it forever. "So how did you two meet?" her mother asked, a glint of curiosity in her eyes. Luke didn't miss a beat. "Well, I kept seeing her every day at the coffee shop. She'd always be on the phone talking about school and how busy she was. Eventually, I worked up the nerve to ask her out. Figured if I was going to hear her life story every morning, I might as well be a part of it." Elizabeth blushed, trying to suppress her giggle. He was better at this than she expected. Her parents exchanged glances, clearly impressed. As the night wore on, Elizabeth couldn't help but notice how natural it all felt. Luke's arm around her, the way he smiled at her, the playful teasing, it didn't feel like pretending anymore. Later, as they stood outside, saying their goodbyes to her parents, her mom pulled her aside. "You look so happy, sweetie. I can tell he really cares about you." Elizabeth smiled, but her heart was racing. Was it all just part of the act? After her parents left, Elizabeth and Luke stood alone in the kitchen of her apartment, a strange tension hanging in the air. "Well, I think we convinced them," Luke said with a grin. Elizabeth nodded, biting her lip. "Yeah, we did." There was a pause before Luke finally spoke again, his tone softer. "You know, this whole pretending thing has been kind of fun." Elizabeth's heart skipped a beat. "Yeah, it has." Luke stepped closer, his voice quiet. "But what if we stopped pretending?" Elizabeth's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Luke reached for her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. What if we gave this a real shot? I mean, I've always liked you, Elizabeth. More than just a customer. And now? I don't think I'm pretending anymore. Her heart fluttered. I don't think I'm pretending either. Luke smiled and leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to her lips. When he pulled back, they both laughed, feeling lighter than they had in weeks. Well, Elizabeth said, grinning, I guess my parents were right about one thing. Luke raised an eyebrow. What's that? I did need to find time for dating. Luke laughed, pulling her close. Guess they'll be thrilled to know it all worked out. And just like that, their sweet charade turned into something real.